Look at all the bastards in the cover-ups over the years. The Oklahoma City bombing is an example, which was a Bush Clinton crime syndicate bombing. Iran Contra players blowing up the frigate building. What was that for? It was to legitimize control over the American people through the anti-terrorist bill, where they'd be able to spy more on the people and legitimize the illegal side of the CIA to be able to carry a badge and haul more drugs. That way they wouldn't be stopped by the highway patrol, things of that nature. Why did they do 911? So they could eliminate the Constitution. We can prove the Israelis, and it has already been proven by the United States CIA and the FBI. Sybil Edmonds, the FBI whistleblower, she had the communications between those Turkish-American council that she can't talk about, but I can because I'm not under any time. I've intentionally held back in certain filings from time to time in court so they couldn't gag me the way they did her, but they gagged her. And they gagged her on the communications that she overheard, which was Gary Best. Gary Best was an Iran-Contra player, part of the privatized U.S. Special Forces that became an army for the president outside of the control box of the Pentagon or the U.S. government, privatized under Clinton after the Oklahoma City bombing. They were the ones that were involved in 911. They were involved, terrorists for hire. They were part of the Dancing Israeli group, as they call it, that if you go up on my website and look, we've specifically detailed things from time to time. My ex-in-laws, the CIA, and other intelligence agencies have investigated the money flow, and I provided a few things to them. One of the things they found out was that Waymark Foundation out of Las Vegas, Nevada, that tied to a guy named Isley Webb Bush something brokerage firm, okay, out of Reno and Las Vegas, Nevada. Isley has a farm in Gresham, Oregon. He's part of the Templars. He's satanic. That's where they have these little Bush Cheney hunting trips where they take kids out and they strip these kids down. They go out and hunt the kids, molest the kids, pedophiles. Sometimes they kill the kids. Sometimes they'll let the kids go. Nutty stuff, off the charts satanic crap that most people couldn't even believe. But Webb Bush and them, there was money that flowed out of Silverado to Morgan, from there to the Bahamas, from there to the Isle of Jersey. Part of this trail is mentioned in the book, The Mafia, CIA, and George Bush, because I gave it to him, to the Cabolian Trust at the Isle of Jersey and the Isle of Man. John Dix of Denver, Colorado, that was part of the Millman Crime Syndicate, part of it. It flowed from there to Switzerland. It flowed from there to Swiss Bank Corp, to Canute at Swiss Bank Corp and Volksbank in Basel, Switzerland. Then it flowed back into Mena, Arkansas through Hillary Clinton and Jackson Stevens, went to Hong Kong from the Isle of Jersey. Part of it, or the trail that went from the Isle of Man, Isle of Jersey, went to Hong Kong, then back to Hillary Clinton, then back to Denver, Colorado, in the form of foreign trusts, for they wouldn't have to pay income tax as foreign trusts. This was drug money that was being laundered.
So a lot of the money is sent out over to these offshore accounts, and they play the shelf game with it?
Foreign trust. Remember the Japanese buying up America supposedly in the 1980s? That was them. And it was the Hillary Clinton side with Jackson Stevens of Little Rock, Arkansas, the money flow. She was creating the limited partnerships for my former in-laws and for the Bushes. She was part of that. Her husband was hauling the drugs in to Mena, Arkansas, and that money was going up to M&L in Denver, Colorado, and Silverado at Neil Bush. Now, the trail that went to Switzerland, to Swiss Bank Corp, and to Volksbank, and there was a third bank that tied to an old Nazi that was tied to Prescott Bush and Adolf Hitler, who's now dead. That trail went back to Isley at Gresham, Oregon, the pedophile who had the brokerage firm. He set up through Gwendolyn Waymark, Mossad bitch, That money was set up in Waymark Foundation. Waymark Foundation then was turned over to the control of Millman's goon at AIG Insurance, Hank Greenberg. Greenberg Tar Rig Law Firm, where Jack Abramoff, who was blackmailing the Congress and the Senate with whorehouses in Washington. Those stories and details are up there on my website in the right column. Scroll down the top stories. They're in there about Abramoff's sex rings at the different hotels. We detailed it. That money.
Scandal. That was a big scandal out in the regular media too, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. And Abramoff lied to the jury. He went to jail for 9 months. Gets out. He lied. We turn around. Friends of mine nailed his butt over it, and they stuck him back in for a while longer. I think he's got 4 years this time. When he gets out again, 4 years, he's going to be banged back in again.
Yeah.
But here's the deal: is that money that went to the Hank Greenberg of AIG Insurance, Millman Stooge tied to Meyer Blinder, Pine Street Securities, Blinder Robinson, the world's largest penny stock brokerage that collapsed in 1990, robbed people of hundreds of millions of dollars. Okay, that was part of the Mark Rich deal. The Clintons pardoned Mark Rich. Ties in Isley, ties in all of them, ties in Greenberg, the whole bit.
Greenberg. Some of the same players during Whitewater?
Same players, same game.
Mm-hmm.
Greenberg at AIG had the Greenberg Tar Rig Law Firm where Abramoff was working. Greenberg and Abramoff paid the terrorist who was part of the flight center out of Boca Raton, Florida. Comes back to Boca Raton in the Florida Flight School. Muhammad Atta, the one they found the passport. You know, no bodies, no rings, no nothing. Death ray hit it, the whole bit. But here's the guy that represented George Bush. His wife supposedly on an airplane, the whole bit, killed. He was seen throwing something the day of 9/11 after it occurred. That was the attorney, I forgot his name, that represented George Bush at the Supreme Court to become president of the United States. He threw Muhammad Atta's passport in there that was singed around the edges. But yet there weren't any bodies. There wasn't anything found except that melted gold, $200 million. And as soon as they got the gold out of the building of 911, all of a sudden the firefighters were told to back off. No more. We're going to scrap everything. Remember, there was a big deal between the firefighters and the police? Okay. Who paid the terrorist? Hank Greenberg of AIG, that's stealing all this bailout money over those artificial subprime mortgages with no houses to back it. He paid the terrorist with Jack Abramoff, the Israeli Mossad connection. Greenberg Tar Rig is the law firm being used to cover up everything, and all the widows and all the orphans and everybody that has tried to get their money in settlements over their families, and all the money that was raised that was all stolen. There were $2 or $2.5 billion that were raised by the American people through donations. U.S. Bank is an example. Who was on the board of directors of U.S. Bank, created U.S. Bank up until about 6 months ago? George Herbert Walker Bush. They collected almost $1 billion for all these orphans and widows and everybody else. Where did that money go? It's unaccounted for, still to this day. These are contributions. 2 movie stars, husband and wife both. What are their names? The blonde-haired gal. She came on TV here about 2003, 2004. Goldie Hawn and her husband. They came on TV because they contributed $1 million or $1.5 million to the fund. They're saying, where'd the money go? Where'd the money go? If anybody remembers this, you have to remember these things. You have to watch history in its making, and you have to understand. But Greenberg Tar Rig and that Waymark Foundation, the Mossad connection with my ex-in-laws who were basically Mossad, the Israeli connection, they were the ones that paid the terrorist on 9/11. And I'll tell you something. The United States government, you ask yourself, why did Karl Rove resign? Why did Gail Norton, a former Attorney General of Colorado that obstructed justice over all the stuff was getting paychecks for attorneys, her pays from Millman, for attorneys that weren't even on their staff.